Hi, my name is Kate, and you're very welcome here on my channel where I talk about fragrances. Today you are exceptionally welcome here because my channel just hit 300 subscribers, and I cannot thank you enough. Thank you guys for sharing this wonderful hobby, this interest with me. I started the channel just because I didn't have anyone to talk to about fragrances, and now I have at least 300 people, which is awesome. So thank you. Today we're going to discuss Chypre fragrances. It's a very tricky, complicated subject with a lot of nuances, but I will try to tell you as much as I can to the best of my knowledge. And if you have anything to add, anything interesting, some facts and your opinions, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will be happy to discuss and learn more with you about this wonderful family of Chypre fragrances. Pour yourself some coffee, tea, wine, whatever you want. Get cozy and let's start discussing. The French word Chypre is traced back to the island of Chypre, of Cyprus. As far as I know, we don't have a lot of information. What were they doing in Cyprus that the whole fragrance family is called after that? And maybe it's not even called after Cyprus. Maybe it's a similar word to something else. We're not 100% sure about it. When we talk about Chypre fragrance family, we mainly mean structure. Usually there is a bergamot in the top notes, labdanum in the middle, and oak moss or tree moss in the base, which is now changing a little bit, but we will talk about it later. There's a word as Chypre. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's also a very interesting topic. I believe that the best time to wear Chypres is fall. That's why I'm making this video now, and also some of you were asking about it, so here we go. I don't want to go too much into details about every fragrance that I have here today. I just want to show you how it is represented in the modern world and what shapes and forms it can take. Okay. So the first fragrance I would like to talk about today is actually the staple of my collection. It's Mitsouko by Guerlain. And maybe some of you know that Guerlain and Coty are two brands, two European brands that started making Chypre fragrances and made them famous. So that's why it was important for me to have Mitsuku in my collection, even though it's not the first Chypre fragrance made by Guerlain family, but still it's a staple. So this is a fruity Chypre. There are different kinds of Chypres. There are floral Chypres, fruity Chypres, leathery Chypres. Maybe there are other kinds, but they are not as widespread as these three. I mean, and also just Chypre that are not really specified. I have a whole group of those here, by the way. So Mitsuku is the first fruity Chypre. And it has a very dark oak moss base. And by the way, our favorite organization, IFRA, is heavily controlling oak moss materials now. So it's very rare when there's an actual oak moss, tree moss material in the fragrance, like oil. I think it's oil, correct me if I'm wrong. This particular bottle dates back to the very beginning of 90s. So this fragrance is a little bit different from what they sell in the stores now. Even though the latest version of Mitsuku is not so bad, I actually like it, but to me it's not as soft and long lasting as this one. This one, if I could describe you the texture, in general, if I could describe to you the texture of Chypre fragrances, they're a little bit bubbly, you know, like champagne or prosecco. They're a little bit rough, but they can also be kind of smooth at the same time. And this fragrance definitely has that quality. It's slightly rough on the edges, but it's generally smooth. And I really like it a lot. There's a peach note here, but to me, it's not the fruit itself, not the juicy part. To me, it's the peel, you know, this kind of fluffy part of the peach. So to me, it smells like this. I mean, also with oak moss and some flowers. But the texture of this fragrance reminds me of this a little bit fluffy peach. If you have a chance to try the vintage version of Mitsuku, I highly recommend it. It's beautiful. Another fruity Chypre that I wanted to say a couple words about, it's Le Panthère by Cartier. It's Le Parfum version. So this is perfume version of this fragrance. And this is actually, as far as I know, they used natural oak-moss materials in this one, which is rare. What I like about this fragrance is its fruitiness, especially when it's a little warmer, when it's a sunny weather. This fragrance is softer. When it's cold, I don't really enjoy wearing it in winter as much because it becomes more spiky and bubbly and like psh, this kind of sound, you know, like I almost can hear this psh sound that it makes. And I really like Osmanthus here. This is the Osmanthus that smells like apricot, very juicy, very ripe apricot. And the color of this fragrance, this kind of bright golden kind of orange, is perfect for it. And I don't know if you noticed this about not only vintage kind of Chypres, but also modern Chypres. They all smell more expensive. Even though I don't like to label things like this, expensive, cheap, or something like this for girls, for boys, I think that Chypre fragrances, they tend to smell very expensive, very solid, kind of respectable. It's not really a scent for very young people. I cannot see a teenager wearing this, for example, to school. Even though I guess they can, of course, you can wear whatever you want, but I just don't really picture it. I think this is a fragrance for an occasion. So let's move to floral Chypre fragrances and just a couple words about Paloma Picasso. Also legendary floral Chypre. The pyramid of this fragrance is this size, I think. There are so many notes, although it's very hard for me to pick on separate notes. Only thing that I can tell you is definitely it has Chypre structure, and I smell yellow florals and honey. Although it's not very sweet, it's not a sweet fragrance, but it is floral, and it is, it's a modern version, by the way. This is not vintage version. I'm sure that vintage probably is very interesting and changing and has a lot of shades and colors. This one probably has less, but still, it's a very beautiful fragrance. And it's very solid one piece. It's really hard to pick up on the separate notes here. Almost impossible for me, to be honest. Yeah, it's more about the fragrance by itself. It's like a one thing. It's not many little pieces together. It's one piece together. It's a really beautiful one. A lot of people think it's a grandma scent and things like that, but I understand why. I cannot say that I don't understand people when they say that. I definitely resonate, but it doesn't stop me from wearing it, especially in October. Another floral Chypre fragrance, and I actually was surprised when I found out that it's floral. It's Amouage Fate. Fate also has a very solid construction, but I definitely smell love de Nominette, some flowers, some spices, and it's very balsamic. So I was a little bit surprised when I learned about it that it belongs to Chypre family, but now it kind of makes sense. Another Amouage that belongs to floral Chypre family. Actually, I have 3 Amouage fragrances here. I guess I just like them a lot. Is Myths, also a woman. And this is a different kind. If this is a happy kind of Chypre, it's more positive. This guy is very melancholic. This is chrysanthemum. This smells like really wet forest after the rain, with a little bit of animalic parts and a lot of chrysanthemum in it. Oh yeah, it's beautiful, dark, mysterious. It's when you're not in the mood and it's November and you watch nature fall asleep or maybe even die in a way for winter. It definitely needs to be a specific kind of mood for this fragrance, but I really appreciate it and love it. This guy here is not the actual fragrance I want to talk about. To be honest, I just put it here so I don't forget. If you belong to those people who think that they never smell Chypre, that they don't know Chypre fragrances, I can tell you that you actually definitely smelled and know Chypres very well, because Armani C, the original, that fragrance is a Chypre. It's a floral Chypre. It's just hard to tell because of the huge dose of sugar in it. But yes, it's Chypre and it's super popular. It's hard to find somebody who never even heard about that fragrance. Many people, especially women, like to wear it in winter. Not only in winter, but to me, it's suffocating in summer. And this is the version that I like. This is C Intense. I like this version more because it's less sweet and more fruity. This particular fragrance doesn't belong to Chypre family, but I wanted to mention Armani C. And here we come to a newer Chypre. This is Chloé Nomade. And this fragrance belongs to this neo Chypres when instead of oak moss we have patchouli in the base. And it's kind of a dark, fluffy patchouli is here because at first you smell this Mirabelle plum a lot. It's very fruity in the beginning. Then there are florals that come out. But in the base there's this fluffy patchouli. They don't let this fragrance become very naive and girlish like, it adds some seriousness to this fragrance. Because at first I thought, it's just like not so interesting, Like, for example, I'm not a big fan of how in the designer fragrances now just every brand copies each other. And you come to the shelf with fragrances and they all kind of smell similar. Usually it's orange blossom, blackcurrant leaves, something very similar, and it's just not interesting. This one, at first I thought it was not interesting, but then after waiting for some time, turned out that the base is very interesting. So I have it in my collection, even though I don't use it so much. But it's still a nice fragrance. If you don't like the heavy duty like this, you can try Neo Chypres and see what you think about it. Let's start with Woman in Gold by Kilian. And this also has a very nice patchouli in the base. This is also not oak moss, tree moss kind of Chypre. This is a rose, this is vanilla, this smells really luxurious. Something that people notice, something that a lot of people like and a lot of people think that it's too sweet, like Armani C. But this one is easier for me to wear than Armani C. Armani C is too sugary. This has more depth and more interesting opening. To me, it's strictly my taste. Maybe you think different. But it's also very interesting representation of Chypre fragrance in the modern world because it's definitely, they are different, but I could wear them for the same kind of occasion, the same type of occasion, because they both smell pretty expensive, pretty serious, adult-like. I don't see very young people wearing it, even though they can, but still. When I picture it, it doesn't match in my head. So they definitely have something in common. Next, Tom Ford. This is Noir de Noir. This is beautiful. I mentioned already that I think this is the most expensive smelling fragrance in my collection. This is the most luxurious. When I smell this, I think about Venice Carnival. I think about red lips, beautiful long velvet dress. I think about night, about darkness, about stone, old stone, about maybe like a church, old church or castle. I think about all those kinds of things, and it's beautiful. It's intriguing. I can smell very dark, heavy patchouli, and it reminds me of soil, a little bit of soil and cold stone. Beautiful rose. It's a huge one rose that smells like a whole bouquet. The truffle note, I think it's more about soil and this patchouli. And, yeah. Not sure what other notes are there. Probably spices. Beautiful. Really love this one. Another example of Chypre fragrances created in modern times, in today's times, is Chyprissime. by Mugler. I personally think that if you want to shape your opinion about Chypre fragrances, you must try this, because to me, this is the best representation of what a modern Chypre can be. This smells like a more logical air of this, or something like this. They have much more in common. This smells more oak mossy. So when I smell this, I imagine myself in a wooden cabin with panoramic views, a lot of glass, and I'm looking at the forest. Forest at the stage when it's all orange and yellow and golden and red, all these colors. And there are a lot of leaves on the ground. It maybe just rained, and I'm sitting in that cabin sipping on my nice champagne, and I'm eating little slices of a pear fruit, and it's wonderful. And I understand that not everybody would like it, but I think everybody should get familiar. I can tell that there's a lot of work behind this. I can tell there's a lot of thought, and the person was definitely inspired by old school vintage Chypres, but that person was thinking about, okay, but what now? How would it smell now? If we just created the first Chypre fragrance, if I were Guerlain or Cartier perfumer, how would it smell like? And it probably would smell like this. It's earthy, it's woody, it's oak mossy, just a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. The last one for today is Amouage Memoir. I have a whole video about Amouage fragrances for fall, where I'm talking about these guys. So if you haven't seen it, follow the link down below. I will leave it for you. And watch the video about Amouage for fall, because I think it's exciting. If you like Amouage fragrances, of course, or if you're curious about them. And this is Memoir Woman, the best representation of a warm wood note and fragrance. It's really nice. If you're looking for something like this, check this out if you haven't still, because it's amazing. And this fragrance has a lot about it. There's leather, there are incenses, different flowers, oak moss. I think there's animalic notes, and it's perfect for fall. It's a perfect Chypre fragrance for fall. So don't miss out on it. Try it if you haven't. Beautiful. Smells very interesting. Smells intriguing. It's very hard to tell what is it when you smell it for the first time. So I recommend you to try. Okay, so this is my overview on Chypre fragrances. Tell me, what are your favorite Chypres? What would you like to wear this fall? And if you have anything to add, because it's such a wide topic, and definitely I didn't cover everything, but if you have any thoughts, I'll be happy to read them in the comments. Let's chat, and I wish you a great day. Check out other videos too. Bye bye.